occurs all the time except in a specific period of time. Is it interesting to know? Yes. So these exceptions also are worth questioning. If the answer to one of the questions is almost always or almost everywhere, then you ask the question, so when doesn't it happen? Where doesn't it happen? Who is not involved? If all your customers suffer or complain about the service except one category of customers, you should ask the question, who is not complaining? So you're adding a not to the question, and we call this the reverse Laswell question. So just keep in mind to search for exceptions too. So this is what we call reverse Laswell questions. It's the same questions as earlier, but we add the not. Just to check, you're playing detective here. In the Laswell questions, you play detective in order to come up with all useful information about the problem. And the better you get to know the problem, the easier it will be for you to solve it. There is this famous quotation by Albert Einstein that says, if I have 1 hour to solve a problem, I will spend 59 minutes to define it and 1 minute to solve it. Yes. Because defining takes time, but it also helps you quickly come up with the right solution. So don't hesitate at asking maximum questions. Don't hesitate to come back again, to create focus groups, to invite people to discuss the problem. So it's useful for you, and each time you will discover something new. So far, so good? So I hope you would be able to use this tool when you try to solve your problems, be it at school, at home, or in the workplace during your internships. You could use this model. By the way, for this course in my class, I also have master students to which I provide this course. At the end of the semester, they need to apply it to a real-life company case. So during the semester, they are in contact with a manager from a company, and they spot one of their management problems, and they apply what we do in class on the problem from this company. At the end of the semester, the final exam in my class is actually the report. The consulting, problem-solving consulting project. They do it in teams, and at the end, the manager could be invited to attend and see how they suggest to solve the solution to the problem with a detailed action plan. So that's how they are assessed in my class. So any questions about lots of questions? Is that clear? So that's helpful to guide you into building interesting and relevant questions about the problem. So that was our third tool. We have seen brainstorming, affinity diagram, Laswell questions, all within problem definition. So now the Pareto diagram, you told me you're familiar with the Pareto law. And the Pareto law works with the significant few concept. You all know the significant few? So if not, I will remind you. Significant few is the 20. Well, roughly 20. Insignificant many is the 80.
80%, 20%.
Sorry?
80%, 20%.
Yes. So the Pareto diagram works within this Pareto law rule, 20-80. It has been observed that almost all the time, 20% of the causes will generate 80% of the problems. Like 20% of our customers will generate 80% of our revenue. This is a rule that has been observed all the time. So it's interesting for you to know in order to create quick wins. If you have an idea about which causes are or which problems are the significant few, you will focus on them instead of focusing on the insignificant many. Here is an example. If you're familiar with the formulas on Excel, you could easily build your Pareto diagram on Excel. So let's see an example of a company, a restaurant that receives lots of complaints. And these are the counts of complaints during 1 year. Is it a lot? Yes. So that's why they decided to address it seriously. So they just built it on Excel. The first column for the complaint subject. Why are people complaining? Complaining for the tasteless food, or they wait too long, or unfriendly staff, not clean, or the price, or the noise. They complain about food not fresh, or the small portions. They complain about the atmosphere, no atmosphere, or even the food is too salty. For each of these complaint objects, they put the counts in front of it. So 65 complaints about tasteless food, etc. Okay, so this is how they start in order to build the Pareto diagram with the two columns, complaints and counts. From these, they build the cumulative count and cumulative percentage. You guys know how to do that? That's easy. So cumulative counts, for the first line it's obvious. So the second one, it's this plus this cell plus this one. Here, this one plus this one. Okay, etc. So the cumulative count is 1,722, and the cumulative percentage is the next to it. So this is all you need in order to build the curve, the diagram. So see what we get, and I will show you how to use it. So the final diagram, the blue columns in the chart is the count. So we had the count earlier, and in red you have the cumulative percentage. So you actually combine B and okay. And how do you use this diagram? Well, you search for your 80%. 80% here it is. And then you search for the meeting points between the y-axis at 18, value 18, and the curve, which is here, right? And then you go to the x-axis to see what are the measures here. So you have only two objects of complaints that go into this point. So this overpriced and small portions. This is your significant few, the 20% that generates 80% of the complaints. Okay? So now, when you want to address this problem, you're not going to treat all the causes, the objects of complaints, only these two. Because if you solve only these two, you solve 80% of the complaints. Is it worth it? Yes, this is what we called earlier the quick win. Little effort, big impact. And I think that they are related. Look, overpriced means people complain because they pay too much and they eat too little. So it's too expensive for the quantity they eat. So you can solve easily this problem, these two problems by treating one of them. Either increase portions or decrease prices, and it will also impact the other costs. So this is an example of how you could use Pareto diagram if you could quantify the problem. That's why it's important to collect data about it. Any questions about the Pareto? So when you have the opportunity to use it, go for it, because it's helpful to identify the significant few very quickly. So, I told you that we're not going to cover root causes today because of lack of time. It requires by itself 3 hours or more. But I can list for you the tools that we use in the root causes analysis. There is 5 whys tools, Ishikawa diagram, and causal tree. Are you familiar with any of these? No? Even the 5 whys? You ask the question initially about the problem statement, why do we have this problem? And the answer you get will help you build the second why. The answer you get, you also ask the question about this answer, why? And you get an answer, etc. So progressively you work until you reach the root cause, the origin, the source of the problem. Ishikawa diagram is an affinity diagram, the shape of a fish. Maybe you have seen one? Okay, it's also Japanese. Told you that Japan is the mother of problem solving. So Ishikawa diagram is also called fishbone diagram or cause-effect diagram. It helps you categorize different potential causes of the problem. It's not about the root causes, but different possible causes in categories with their names. Causal tree helps you visualize causes that combine in different levels to reach the effect. It's a complicated tool to use, but in case of accidents at work, it's necessary. So you could look it up, causal tree. In case you have a situation with a work accident, this is the tool to search for root causes. So I'm sorry, we can't have time to work on that today. So once you have defined your problem, and if it's necessary to look for root causes, then you are ready to work on solutions. So that's what we do now. Difficulty when you search for solutions is that most of the time we think of a solution and we think it's the right one. So it's the first solution that comes to your mind and you think that's enough. But our brains are actually trained to search for the easiest way. They are lazy. So the immediate solution that comes to your mind shouldn't be the right one. It's often not the perfect one. So you accept it and you put it as plan B. And then you start working on the solutions. Okay? So that's the bias we sometimes have when we want to quickly tackle the problem. So, but the first solution that comes to your mind is often not the best one. So how to do it exactly? How to come up with innovative solutions? Please be aware of the mental blocks, because we are all creative, you know. Who are the most creative people on earth? Do you know them? You know them, of course. Artists and kids. But artists have kept their children, their inner kid, alive. But the other people have just silenced their kid. So your inner kid is still there, waiting for you to give him or her the voice to speak up. So removing mental blocks means you listen to what your brain is telling you about you are not being able, you can't be creative, or that idea is too stupid, or you cannot make mistakes, etc. So just listen to this criticism that you have as an inner dialogue and tell it, wait, it's not the time. Just let's work on fresh ideas and you can give me your opinion later. It's about separating right brain and left brain. You're aware of the difference, right? The left brain is for mathematics, for logic, for relevance. It wants to protect us from danger. But the right side brain is imagination, is art, is creativity. So we need, when we want to work on solutions, we need first to use our right brain. And then we allow our left brain to put, to make some sense of it, to create some logic. So once you have identified your mental blocks, then you use a specific tool. It's interesting to start with creative warm-ups, like when you go to the gym. Don't start practicing immediately. You have to warm up a little, stretch your muscles, etc. Right? So it's the same when you want to be creative about solutions. Don't start right away. Give yourself time to warm up. And if you work in teams, it's even better. So are you guys ready for some creative warm-ups? Yes. Let's see. I will time you, so I set the timer on 3 minutes. Okay, so please be sure you have something to write on. Phones, computers, paper, whatever, before I set the timer, and I will tell you what to do. Put on your phone if you can't. Guys ready? Everyone is ready? Just to write down the ideas as soon as we start the timer. So if you are ready,
Reading.
3 minutes, you have 3 minutes to come up with 9 different uses to this object. Start. 9 different uses to this object. If you can have more than 9, it's better, but your target is 9. Individual work. 9 different ways of using this